Hello Internet. Today we have this 5080 from Gigabyte in for repair. I fixed this one before, but after it got transported or installed into a pre-built and shipped out, it died as usual. To make sure it's safe to power, I'll quickly check for short circuits in as many places as I can reach without taking it apart. Because sometimes there's nothing wrong with the card, and taking it apart would be a waste of time. Card pulls 2.5 amps, as any 5080 would, so I have no reason to think that it would blow up when we powered by the PC. And once done, too bad, the card does not post, so we need to run some basic tests. Unfortunately, I have to resort to a more modern system with a properly positioned support stand. To find out the most optimal location for the support stand to go, simply lift the card with your finger like this, and see if both corners of the card lift at the same time. If you lift the far corner of the card, you can see that the card flexes. That's an indicator that this place is bad for this size card. After finding a sweet spot, adjust your support to be at the height where the I/O plate is just about to rest on the screw. You most likely don't have the screw sticking out like I do, but you get the idea. Either way, the memory test has ran and it reports a problem with B1. And I bet if the card was properly supported during its use, none of this would have happened. But it is what it is, so let's take it apart and have a look. The chip in question is this guy here, but the problem may be originating under the core as well. You see, if the core was oriented 90 degrees instead of whatever this is, this problem would have been far less likely to happen in the first place.
This is true planned obsolescence right here.
Thanks, Steve.
In any case, my plan is to reball them both, and hopefully there's no damage under the core, so let's see how it goes. Maybe it's going to be a good day. Reball is done. Nothing is shorted. Thermal camera gave me OK, so let's boot the card and see if it posts. I'll wiggle the cables to make sure everything is seated and try again. And still nothing. Secret weapon here would be a BIOS switch. Let's see if it posts with a different BIOS chip selected. And yes,
I am the one.
it worked. But why? Why does it work with one chip but not the other? I have no idea. Maybe the chip next to the cord got too hot during reball and died? Or maybe I wicked the solder from under the nearby resistors? But all the solder looks good to me, so to see if chip is the problem, I will swap the chips around. If problem follows the chip, chip is faulty, but if the problem stays, switch or the resistors nearby or even the reball gone bad. Hard to tell. I will also add some solder to the resistors and clean the switch just to be safe, and try again. Okay, so it posted in this position. What about the other? Oh, weird. I fixed it. And I don't even know how, and I don't care. It works, so
I am the one.
put it together, plug it in, make sure it still posts, and run some tests. And everything seems okay, so let's take a moment and enjoy this pointless AORS animation. Hopefully I earn your like for that. Hello Internet. Today we have this 5080 from Gigabyte in for repair. I fixed this one before, but after it got transported or installed into a pre-built and shipped out, it died as usual. Except this time it's much worse. Looks like the cooler is severely damaged to a point of a board isn't sitting flat, as you can see by comparing the straightness of this ruler to the board. Basically this board went from straight to gay. On this end, things are much worse. These driver MOSFETs have been upgraded to wireless cooling, and I think we've seen enough today, so let's take it apart and have a look. There's a slight bend to the card, but not as bad once it's separated from the cooler. Resistances appear to be normal, and power is also looking good, so let's boot the card and see if it posts. And it does. So, yay, we fixed it! Next on the list is to fix this backplate. Trying to get it as flat as your mama. The radiator will be a much more challenging problem because the piece, which was supposed to be welded to the vapor chamber, is now ripped off. Not completely of course, but about halfway, and hopefully the vapor chamber doesn't have any holes as a result of that. But we'll see. To make the repair process easier, I will remove the radiator from the fin shroud and try to squeeze the two together. That helped a little, but since the vapor chamber is in its way, I cannot bend it any further. So, I'll slip a razor blade underneath that piece to create more clearance and try again. That looks much better. Even if it does not look perfect, because we don't use pads but putty, clearances here are not critical. And that's the beauty of thermal putty. I still hate it though because it's messy. In any case, I verified clearances several times to make sure everything is seated as best as possible, and here's the result. The ruler says it's not perfect, but much better, so let's boot the card and see how it holds up. Hopefully the vapor chamber didn't get punctured and leaked. Customer stated that the card would work, but it would crash and not post until cooled down. This can be easily explained by overheated driver MOSFETs kicking into thermal protection. Once overheated, they shut down the card and it will not let it power on until it's cooled enough. How they damaged this card is beyond me, and we got lucky I got it saved, and without the need to buy a cooler. That's it for this repair. Hopefully I earned your like or a comment. Please don't forget to subscribe, and goodbye.